What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the long-awaited update to Branded. That's right, this is the Branded Azamina profile that I've kind of been looking into, working towards and trying to get together. I've been trying to pick up the last few cards for the Azamina engine in order to make this deck tick. Now it can play without the Azamina engine. What you do get the benefit of if you do have the ability to play the Azaminas is it does give you a very nice Omni Negate to protect your Branded Fusion all from one card building up from that point on. So I'm going to take you through the profile, show you what we've got and explain why we've got it in as much depth as possible so you can understand how it works, how it operates and what the Azaminas add to the deck. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So we're going to be starting off with triple Fallen of Albaz. All of this is going to be pretty standard for these monster lineups, and triple Aluba. Like, none of this really changes. I can't imagine that any builds would change these ratios, as your Aluba is your ideal your ideal starter, because this is going to lead you into your Branded Fusion. The idea behind this is if you do open up the Azamina or a route to the Azamina when you end up having technically 9 cards to get it started, this will then provide you with protection from the Branded Fusion, from the search of Aluba to get to the said Branded Fusion, and then go from there, because your Branded Fusion is going to lead you into Mirror Jade, and it's going to lead you into a load of resource management off of the back of Mirror Jade, Aluba, and everything else in between. The only other Despian that we play is the one Tragedy. You can play the Adlib if you want to. This is currently a 46 card deck. I'm trying to find out if I want to bump it to 50 and put in stuff like Super Poly and a third Albion the Shrouded Dragon, or if I want to try and cut it down to 45 if not 40. But you do play loads of little different engines in here to help you succeed and help increase your consistency, because you need to find other ways to fusion summon rather than relying on Branded Fusion as much these days, because again, sadly, it's at 1. For the Bestials, we're playing the one Lubellion and the one Saronir. Pretty standard on this one, not really much needs to change on there. For the other kind of Branded-esque cards, we're playing the one Macoria, the one Guiding Quem, the one Blazing Cartesia, 2 Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Now I'm testing out between 2 and 3 of this right now. At the moment 2 is kind of like the middle ground that I'm slightly happy with, but then there are times where I'm like, okay, I wish I had a third. Now the reason for that is your kind of route of play, if you can't get to a search directly off of the back of Aluba, is you're going to use Albion to send Branded Fusion to the graveyard, and then you kind of want to work your way back to being able to get it back from the graveyard, when you have stuff like Tragedy that can help you do that, and you also have stuff like the Retribution that can help you do that as well. Then of course you've got one Spriggan's Kit. Now moving on to the Wanted engine. So for the Wanted engine, we are playing triple Diabellstar the Black Witch. Yes, these are proxies. Currently, I don't own any. I actually got rid of my secret rare versions before the reprint was announced. Yay. So now I just need to pick up like super rares for £3.50 a copy. My friend's actually got a playset for me, and I need to pick them up on the way. And it also has an ultimate rare print, so I might look into getting into that. As you can see, I tried to make Branded look extra shiny. So you're going to be playing 3 Diabellstar the Black Witch and 3 Wanted Seeker Sinful of Spoils. And obviously the idea is that both of these have now recently been reprinted in Rarity Collection 3, or technically Bonanza, but the idea is you can get these really, really cheaply, and what you're kind of working your way to is Wanted can lead you into the Diabellstar, and then Diabellstar will get you into Deception. Now, you can arguably play Deception at 1 if you wanted to, but I still wanted to increase the consistency of being able to see a route to this card. Now, you've got 9 different ways. You can hard open up the Deception, you could open up the Wanted, which leads you into the Witch, which will lead you into Deception, or of course you just have the all the way. I've got 9 different options here, or of course you can hard open up your Hallowed Azamina and of course your Azamina Debitors, but keep in mind you still need to be able to send a Sinful Spoil card in order to complete your fusion summon. So it would be this with this, is ideally what I'm trying to say here. You could also do it on the flip side as well and play less Witches, but honestly the Witcher are the cheaper of the lot, so you'd probably want to be playing 3 Witches, 3 Wanted, and then 1 Deception at the base minimum. And you can also recycle the Deception, because Deception is the card that you will be sending when you activate your Azamina. So the way that this engine works, just so there's clarity on it, is, as I've already said, in the best and long extended way, you go Wanted into Witch, Witch gets you Deception, Deception sends the Witch to search you out either the Hollowed Azamina or of course the Azamina Debitors. You then activate the Hollowed Azamina or either one. You reveal an Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck, being your Omni Negate in the form of the Silver. You'll then send the Deception, obviously off the back of the Hollowed, and it counts down, and then you get your Omni Negate. So just for a bit of clarity on the fusion spells as well, is you reveal an Azamina fusion monster from your extra deck, and for every 4 levels it has, rounded down. What a weird way. Like, this just helps you get it just by revealing or sending one. You send one Sinful Spoils card from the hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, or if face down you reveal it, and then you special summon the revealed monster. So as Sylvie is a level 6, you only need to send one, which is crazy, because if you hard open up multiple forms of Wanted, you can send that, and if not, you send the Sinful Spoils Deception, which is already face up on the field, as it's a continuous spell. If that wasn't enough, you also get the ability to target an Azamina monster you control or in the graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then add this card back to the hand. So if you were to activate this early doors and negate and protect, then you have the ability of the Hallowed Azamina to put it back, because you can only use this effect once per turn. You put this back, and if you've hard opened up the debitors or get to the debitors, you can then activate this to bring it back out, as long as you have another Sinful to send. So the difference between these two is this is a quick play, this is a normal spell, but this one has during the main phase you reveal an Azamina fusion monster in your extra deck, and then for every 4 levels it has, rounded down, send a Sinful Spoils, get there eventually, card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then if you do, you get to special summon the fusion monster. And then during your main phase, you get to banish this card from the graveyard, target an Azamina monster in your graveyard, and special summon it. You can only use one effect per turn. So obviously this one's a little bit more restricted, but the idea is it gives you that ability to activate it during your opponent's turn. And then there is another technical Azamina card. I mean, it's not like direct, but the other Azamina that you can play, which you'll probably be using off of the debitors more than not, is the Azamina Soul. So this one is if it is fusion summoned, you get to target a card on the field, send it to the graveyard. And then during the standby phase, you get to target an Azamina or a Sinful Spoils card in your graveyard and add it to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So obviously the idea is that when you make this during your opponent's turn, it's a disruption, and then you get to add back either a Hollowed or a Debitors, and off of the back of that, you'll then be able to go fuse again. So keeping in mind, you've just got loads of resource, which is why it works out nicely, as you've got a defensive option with this engine, and you've got an aggressive option. Moving on to the branded spells. Sad, sad days. One branded fusion. I need to look at quarter century prices of this one, but I'm not the big. I think alties look better than quarter centuries, which is why my Alubas and Albazes are alties rather than quarter centuries. But that's just personal preference. Then of course we've got the one branded lost, the one branded in red, and the next card that I need to upgrade, I just haven't decided to do that as of yet, is branded opening. So we get this as a quarter century in Rarity Collection 3. I think they're currently like £10 to £13 a copy, but this is your increased consistency to get you to your branded engine off of the back of the Luba and everything else. Now, I'm personally playing the Nadir Servant package. You can swap this out very easily for Frost package if you want to, with Fusion Duplication. I just still really do like the Nadir Servant package. Yes, of course, you can adapt your extra deck a little bit more so than I have in order to utilize the benefits of this. And what I mean by that is you can play Elder Entity Ints. You can obviously consider the Shadol package if you wanted to, but I'm not really focusing on increasing my extra deck options. I'm kind of just using this to get me into Quem and everything else in between. So it gives me another option should I get hand trapped to death, because the idea is that through the Azamina play, that's when you're going to start baiting out stuff like Ash Blossom and everything else, and if they don't take that bait, you're then setting up the protection for your branded fusion, and if they are able to still stop that branded fusion, you then have Nadir Servant to fall back on. The other card that can help you get a little bit more consistency is Fusion Deployment, because this will give you access to Cartesia and can also get you access to Albaz as well. Then the last one of spells we play is the one Gold Sark and the one Foolish Burial, because you Gold Sark your Tragedy, gets you a search, you Foolish Burial a Tragedy, or of course you can Foolish Burial your Lubellion, and you're still going to be able to get advantage off the back of that. Then the hand traps for the deck, we are playing triple Infinite Impermanence alongside triple Ash Blossom, and the final trap card, of course, is Retribution. The idea is you still want to be able to send this from deck to the grave with your Albion, banish it, and add back one of your branded spells or traps, which is very, very helpful because that's going to give you access to recycle that branded fusion, as sadly, at 1, you kind of want to make sure that you're going to get follow-up as consistently as you possibly can. So that's it for the entire main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So we've already pretty much talked about the Azaminas. You've got the Aggressor in the form of the Soul. You've got the Defender in the form of the Sylvie. So any battle damage your Azamina monsters except Silver inflicts to your opponent is doubled. So if you have both of these on the board, this is going to be doing double battle damage. You can only use each effect once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you get a quick effect to tribute this card and negate that effect. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to add a Sinful Spoils trap from the deck to the hand. Now, you're not playing any Sinful Spoils trap, but the idea is you're just going to summon this in defense. You've then got your Omni Negate on the board, tribute it off, bring it back, and you're good to rock and roll. For the branded cards, we're playing 2 Mirror Jade, followed up by 2 Albion. Pretty standard on that one. 1 Lubellion, the Syrian Dragon. Now all we need is a QC upgrade for the Albion Dragon. Followed up by the Rinbroom, Titaniclad also would be nice to get a quarter century upgrade on this one. And then for the Despians, I still quite like playing the Quinteris and the Proskinian. I think Proskinian is actually really, really good. And that's where Super Poly can kind of come into play a little bit more consistently. That's something that I want to play. And again, that's the difference between bumping it to a 50 card deck or trying to cut it down. So that's the real struggle that I'm having at this exact moment in time, is kind of working out which way I want to go with the deck. But you just play so many one card power plays that you have that ability to go over 40 and still get a decent outcome. We've then got the one at Grand Grignol, the one at Guardian Chimera, the one at Predaplant Dracostapelia, and then of course the one at Light and Darkness Dragonlord. So Dragonlord can provide you another form of protection and negation, but remember you want this to be the last thing you summon. So when you're working through your plays, obviously your Azamina play will get you your Sylvie, which is your Omni Negate. You can then work your way down to get you your Light and Darkness Dragon, which can give you more forms of protection, more forms of negation, but you want to make sure it's the last thing you do, because keep in mind it will also negate your Azamina. So the idea would be that you'd go Light and Darkness Dragon, mandatory to negate every time your opponent tries to activate, and then once it's kind of fallen out of space, you need to make sure that your opponent goes Chain Link 1, your opponent would have to go Chain Link 1, then your Light and Darkness Dragon will mandatorily trigger Chain Link 2, and then they would have to play something as Chain Link 3, and then that's where your Azamina comes into play. So this one could technically be replaced with the Azaminas, or vice versa. It just gives you another route that if you don't get to Azaminas, you can get to this if you wanted to, but it is also opening up the doors to play something like a Masquerade Dragon if you wanted to. You can also put in Super Poly targets, so your Mud Dragon, your Garura, pretty standard lineup on that one. And then of course you do have stuff like the Borolo Furious Dragon. You've got a lot of flexibility you can play around with. It's really just kind of playing with those 15 card extra slots that you have as to what version you want to go. Do you want to go as many defensive options as possible, as many aggressive options as possible, or balance the pair? So that's it for the entire profile and the entire lineup. Like I said, I'm still testing this out. There's still a couple of other bits that I want to kind of work around with, and I just really like the Azamina engine, and I was kind of like, okay, well, it will definitely go into Branded. That's something I haven't played for a long time because I wasn't the biggest fan of Branded when it became just Gimmick Puppet Pass, and I tried to play it in different ways, and unfortunately, the way that the game was at that point, you kind of needed to play the Gimmick Puppet, and it wasn't the most fun. Whereas now with the Azaminas, I think the Azaminas give you that line of protection that can allow you to kind of go off a little bit more, and unfortunately it's kind of forced on us with the fact that Brand Fusion is at 1. Yes, of course, you can play a little bit differently. Now that Triple Tactics Frost is a little bit cheaper to pick up as well, you can grab those, and that's where your Fusion Duplication can give you an option to protect. But the idea is, rather than playing that particular engine, I have decided to go down the Azamina route, give that a try, see how it works, if I like it or not. I like the engine in general, it's just kind of getting the consistency in order to protect everything that I want to be doing with the branded cards itself. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, comments below as absolutely always. But for now, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.